Hey, you down there. I am a worker bumblebee. Hello. There are about 250 species of us worldwide, and we all have the same genus, Bombus. Our body type is large and robust with a bunch of fur all over it to make it easy to collect pollen.
Wow. So, what do bumblebees like to eat?
Oh wow, that makes me hungry. So we love to eat pollen and nectar from any bright flowers that we can find. For me, I like to use my innate response, which is what I use to find the most popular flowers from my colony, like what we prefer. So I go to a flower, I use my long tongue to get the nectar out, and then I do a little shake, a vibration with my wings to get the pollen off better, so that I can transfer that pollen to another flower.
So, what would you say is your primary method for finding food? Do you use your sight or your sense of smell?
So I like to use my sight. Once again, preferably I like to go by color. Sometimes my preferences can change. And then I will return to a patch of wildflowers if I see it fits best for us.
So, habitat destruction is a big news recently. So, what do you do if there's very few flowers flowering? What if pollen is scarce?
Great question. So what we do typically when pollen is scarce is, well, sometimes we try to damage the plant a little bit just to trick the plant so that the flower emerges earlier. Not all bees do this, of course. It's only when pollen is seriously scarce and we are in dire need of pollen.
So I heard you live in large groups like honeybees, right? Do you live in hives? Do they hang off trees? Tell me more about that, please.
So, great question. One of the huge differences between bumblebees and honeybees are our nests. So honeybees live in what you know as hives. We live in small nests that can sometimes be underground in places like small old rat's nests or above ground in tree holes and clumps of grass.
Very interesting. Are your nests around all year? Do they last multiple years like honeybee hives, or is it something different?
So our nests seem to deteriorate within a year, whereas honeybee colonies live much longer. Our size of our colonies are also much smaller than the population of honeybee colonies. Honeybees can have around 50,000 honeybees, whereas our colonies are usually around 40 to 500.
I had a question about the bumblebee's lifestyle. Do bumblebees live several years? Do they do their nests last several years? Please tell me more about that.
So great question again. Bumblebees live on a strict cycle. So here's a story my mom told me. One day she went on a flight and she got it on with a bunch of other bees. So she became impregnated with me. And then all of a sudden the weather got really chilly and cold. So she decided to go underground and perform something called diapause, which is like a hibernation for bees. And then the weather became really warm again. So she thought it was okay to emerge from the ground and then start a hive for herself. So that's where I come in. I am born, and I, as a worker bee, collect pollen and nectar for the rest of the group, bring it back, and then we all live until it gets cold again. And then we all die except the queen, where she then goes out, impregnates herself, and then the weather gets really cold again. So then she gets under the ground once again and does diapause.
You said the queen goes out and impregnates herself. Could you please clarify?
Yes. Let me clarify. The queen, my mom, goes out and she finds drones to mate with, and then she gets impregnated by the drone, which is a male bee.
So we've heard that climate change is negatively affecting pollinators worldwide. Would you say that climate change is negatively affecting bumblebees? And could you give us an example?
Oh, certainly. I have a cousin from Colorado who told me this story. So because of global warming, all of the elongated flowers that have longer tubes that need longer tongues for specialist bumblebees are declining in population. So the specialist bumblebees with longer tongues are also declining in population. Bees like me that have shorter tongues can typically go for a wider variety of flowers, and so we're not having an issue like they are in Colorado.
So I hear that bumblebees are also used commercially as crop pollinators, just like honeybees. Is that right?
That is correct. Wild bumblebees are also capable of pollinating many crops, but there are managed bumblebees that can pollinate varieties of berries and a couple of other things like tomatoes.
So I hear that you bumblebees have been getting into football recently. Can you tell me what's up with that?
Yes, football is really exciting. So I actually visited a college one time to play football. So I guess you can consider myself a college football player. They put a tiny little football in front of me, and at first I didn't know what I was doing. But then I managed to accidentally put it into a hole, and they gave me a wonderful sweet treat. So I just kept putting the football in the hole. And then my friends around me saw me do it, and they were able to put the football in the hole too, because I guess they wanted the sweet treat, and they thought what I was doing was the right thing to do. So that's how we learned how to play football out of college.
It's like, I guess that means you guys are pretty good learners, right?
We're excellent learners. We learn from each other.
Excuse me, Miss Bumblebee.
Yes.
So what is your opinion on the casting of the character Bumblebee from the Transformers franchise?
Yes. This is a disappointing matter to talk about because they could have cast any Bumblebee in the world, but instead we got a horrible CGI robot.
Miss Bumblebee, could you tell us a little about how North American bumblebees are doing right now as a whole?
Hi. Yes. So about 25% of bumblebees in North America are at risk of extinction.
Excuse me, could you please tell us a little bit about the species of bumblebee in North America that are at risk of extinction?
Yes. So there are currently 4 species of bumblebee in North America that have declined over 90% in population in the last 20 years, including the rusty patch bumblebee, which is critically endangered.
We've talked a lot about bumblebee declines. Could you tell us a little bit about what's causing those declines?
Yes. So the main 3 things that are causing the declines of bumblebee populations are habitat loss, pesticides, and climate change.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the pesticides that are causing this drastic reduction in bumblebee populations?
Yes. So there is a class of insecticide known as the neonicotinoid. The neonicotinoids are responsible for drastic declines in bumblebee populations.
So you seem to face adversity on several fronts. Any threats from other bumblebees?
Yes, so there exists something called the cuckoo bumblebee. Their name comes from a cuckoo bird because it is also a brood parasite. So what the cuckoo bumblebees will do is come in, invade the nest, kick out the queen and replace the original queen with one of their own queen so that it'll trick all of the workers to take care of the cuckoo bumblebee larva.
Is there some way that we can help native bumblebee populations here at home?
Yes. So what I would recommend to humans, since it's the easiest thing to do, is plant native wildflowers. Thank you for your time. Have a great one.
Are there any ways that we can help native bumblebees?
Yes. So what I would recommend to humans, since it's the easiest thing to do, is plant native wildflowers.
I'm gonna say thanks. That's my
No words. Just go on.